back to pedaling. I'm in the studio and I'm pedaling. And got that beautiful view out there to look at. Lots of wildflowers and beautiful scenery. Y'all, what a victory to be downstairs in the studio in my Phil chair, Phil chair. And it's literally, that's a shortened name. It's literally called the hashtag Phil Better chair. And that is spelled Philbetter. And you know why that is? I'll tell you why that is. On this, our 111th day of 5-minute in-name only exercise encouragement, how are you? I hope you're doing well. So this is called the hashtag Feel Better chair because my dear late friend Phil Ferguson gave me this chair. Phil and I worked together as teachers and we became like a brother and a sister. I became very close with his wife. We were just really dear friends. And Phil passed away in 2018 at 34. So that is some of the meaning behind when I say, you know, it's just great to be breathing. One of the things we remind ourselves about getting older is it's such a privilege. It is such a privilege to get older. I have more than one friend who is not enjoying that privilege. And I think it's something that grounds us without getting too maudlin. And I mean, I have to be honest, it was years before I could even talk about my Pip. That's what I called him. Phil was Pip. And he called me Pate. There's so many stories about Phil, and I'll have to deal with that on the podcast in the near future. But when he was sick for a few years. We were going to do an MFA together. That's a Master's of Fine Arts. If you don't know, if you do know, I'm sorry if I'm over explaining, but we were going to do that in creative writing and write our novels together. And that didn't happen. And you know, it was another degree, and it wasn't like it was a necessary degree. I mean, but it was another degree, and it was a way that we could get ourselves on target to write our novels. But yeah, that didn't happen. And not to be, you know, super sad or memento mori about anything, but yeah, it means a lot to me when I sit in this chair. This is the supreme napping chair. When it used to be in my office up at the college, when I had a standing office at the college, I still have an office. It's just in the main office if I need to come up there and work. But in our arts and sciences, our School of Arts and Sciences office. But when I could have this chair in my office that was upstairs in our building, people were always invited by me to come up and get into the office. Our office manager, who's my dear friend Karen, could get them into my office and they could take a nap. And this is the napping chair. I've let students nap in this chair. I've given them the keys to my office and said, you know what, you're going to be here for a long time today. Do you need a nap? Go take a nap in the Feel Better chair. And the whole origin of the hashtag Feel Better, when Phil needed to be at Vanderbilt for 100 days and his wonderful wife moved into the medical apartments there with him as he was needed to be isolated after getting stem cell treatment for his lymphoma, we started a campaign to raise money for him because that Vanderbilt stay was not in the medical apartments, wasn't covered by his insurance. And so we as a school and a community, small community, raised almost all the money. It was $10,000. And I'll try to find a picture of the shirt and pop it up in the screen. We sold these shirts that were Feel Better shirts. And just like the man himself, Phil was a musician. He had a band. He was a folk hero, to be honest, an incredible teacher, just an amazing educator, one of those once in a lifetime educators that come along. And when we were raising the money, and the shirt was just so cool, some people bought the shirt. It was $20 for the shirt. All that money went to Phil. And because people donated services and stuff, and some people came up and just like gave us $100 and said, I want a shirt, or keep the shirt, or whatever. But most people wanted to have the shirt because it's so cool, as you will have seen in the pop-up. And on the back of it, and I will pop up a a picture of the back of it. It's just a long quote on it from The Ultimate Warrior. Because, like me, Phil grew up with wrestling, not wrestling, but wrestling. And you may know the difference if you're in the South as well, especially the Deep South, which Virginia really isn't. I grew up in the Deep South, but the culture of wrestling is really kind of the same in the South as Virginia does the South, and then in the Deep South. And so we joked about that a lot. He also left me his kettlebell. He left the Handy Helper a bunch of the Lego he completed while he was in chemotherapy. He left me his chemotherapy socks. His plush R2D2, which is I know he would want me to regift that, so I did. He would love the fact that the cats have scratched this chair some because he adored cats. He actually he and his wife weren't able to have any children before he passed away, and they had been together their whole lives. I mean, they were 34 years old. They'd been together for 17 years and married for like over 10, 12 years, something like that. So, and I was the one he asked to give the, let's just call it a speech at his memorial service, which we held at the college. And she was right there. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. This is kind of sad for an exercise encouragement video, but you know what? We need to tackle this stuff head on, because one of the points I wanted to make with all of this, and I'll talk way more about Phil in the podcast, but one of the points I wanted to make with all of this is I was watching one of my favorite YouTube channels, Mindy Minx, MINDYMINX, all one word, on YouTube, and I just love her. She's a young mother. She has struggled with fertility for a variety of reasons. She's in an age gap relationship with her wonderful husband, Larry. They're beautiful kids. They have 2 kids, IVF mama. And they're just, oh my gosh, they're such a lovely family. And people have been so cruel to her recently. And I've been trying to be encouraging and supportive and lift her up, as have a lot of the hundreds of thousands of people who subscribe to her channel. Most people have been kind, but the people who haven't, it's kind of obvious that there's something really targeted and ugly going on. And she's a real force for positivity, that Mindy is. And I always think about it because her name is Mindy Sue, Melinda Sue, and my name is Patty Sue, Patricia Sue. And so I always think, you know, the connection, the Sue sisters. But it made me think about this a lot. And I wanted to talk to my beautiful friends on this channel today and say, you know what? People are going to be mean. They're going to do it. I mean, that's just one of the things that is a part of human nature, that is a reason that we're not perfect. And some people, when they get behind a keyboard and start tippy-tapping, you've probably heard keyboard warriors, right? And they're not really warriors, because it's very cowardly. It's very cowardly to be cruel to others. It's much harder and much more brave to be kind to people, even in the face of their making it difficult to be kind to them. But I really do think if you are personally receiving any kind of bullying and you need help, reach out and get some help. Reach out and get some help. If you don't know how to do that, message me and I will definitely help you to do that. But after that part, you kind of just have to let the love your Creator has for you be the most important thing in your life, and that's where we find our identity. I think if we wrap our identity up in our social media presence or what other people think in general, it's a big mistake. And one of the things that I shared with Mindy that I wanted to share with y'all too, because I love you, I really do, is that, you know, I think originally the way that families and communities were set up, God did not intend for us to have access to hundreds of thousands of people at one time. God did not invent celebrity. God did not invent social media. God invented parents. He invented community. He invented family, right? But all this other stuff that's just the ephemera of the world, that's not a divine appointment, right? So be sure to bring your circle in, the people who are the closest to you, whose ideas and opinions and thoughts can influence you. Make sure that those people are people who love you. And as for the rest of the world, you know, we're just traveling on the same plane. And if people don't like what you're doing and you know what you're doing is good, Just keep doing it. And I know it's easier to say that than to practice it, but I do practice it. And I'm here to tell you it's eminently possible. I'm also here to tell you that you are so incredibly loved, as I said earlier, by me, by your Creator. Please do go with me in peace and love to serve others, and please do pray for Ukraine.